We're back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday. Now, by the time you listen to this, chances are I'll be in a plane going to Savannah, Georgia, or already be in Savannah, Georgia for the next several days up until Thursday of next week. I'll be in Savannah, Georgia, but never fear, we'll still do the TikToks, we'll still do the podcast. Got some interesting ones coming your way starting next week, so don't worry about that. We've got you covered regardless of where we're at this point. Um, I thought about doing a live. I thought about having a guest, and I have to go to bed early to get up early to get on the plane. So I'm just doing this one myself. And besides, it's about time I read some of the emails that we've got coming in. And you should take note that some of these emails came in prior to some of the big news that happened the last several days. So just take note of that. But we still want to hear from those folks. I think it's important that people are able to participate in the program. That's why we do the lives, and that's why we have the guests and such. And it always works out better when people are involved. Me sitting here pontificating is, I don't know about you, but it bores the piss out of me sometimes. So I like the help. I appreciate the help. So anyway, let's talk about some of the shit that's going on. Some crazy shit, some good news. Well, it depends on who you are. If you're Donald Trump, a lot of bad news for Donald Trump these days. We've got the tariff concept that didn't work out so well. The fact that he paused it. Uh, the market came back a little bit after he paused it. He wanted to claim being a genius. All the Trump-a-fucks were so excited about the prospect that, see, all Donald Trump had to do is say the word and things would come back. Well, it did come back about 3,000 points, but keep in mind, since Donald Trump's been president, it's dropped by 7,000 points. So not really a big deal. And then the next day, when people finally realized that Donald Trump still has 10% tariffs across the board and increased the tariff to China to 145%, well, the stock started to take a shit again, and we lost 1,000 points yesterday. It's funny, those Trump-a-fucks aren't crowing right now so much, are they? Some of the good news we got going, though, is we finally got word from the Supreme Court. And this was regarding Donald Trump loading a bunch of immigrants on a plane, including Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and sending them to an El Salvadoran prison. We find out later that that was a mistake. Even the Trump administration acknowledges that. But they said, too late. We can't get them back. But the Supreme Court yesterday said the Trump administration must facilitate the return of a Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador, rejecting the administration's emergency appeal. Now, the court acted in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran citizen who had an immigration court order preventing his deportation to his native country over fears he would face persecution from local gangs. He wasn't supposed to be deported at all, and if he was going to be deported, he definitely should not be deported to El Salvador, and that's exactly what Donald Trump did. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes had ordered Abrego Garcia, now being held in the prison in Salvador, returned to the United States by midnight Monday. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been properly sent to El Salvador, the court said in an unsigned order with noted dissents. Now, Chief Justice John Roberts had already pushed back Zinnes's deadline, and the justices said that he ordered the order now must be clarified to make sure it doesn't intrude into the executive branch power over foreign affairs, since Abrego Garcia is being held abroad. The court said that the Trump administration should also prepare to share what steps it has taken to try and get him back and what more it could potentially do. Now, the thing you have to understand about this has bigger ramifications than maybe a lot of people were considering. The idea that they pick somebody up that had protected status, put them on a plane, and send them to El Salvador, and then say, whoops, we made a mistake, but we can't get him back now because he's already in El Salvador. Categorically, that's bullshit. That's not uncommon for the United States to bring people back from deportation for court proceedings or something like that. So that's not a thing. But Donald Trump did not want to bring this guy back, and there's a couple of reasons for it. First of all, if they are forced to bring him back, and now the Supreme Court says they must, there really is no place else to go. If they do bring him back successfully, then that could happen any number of times. We are hearing that as many as 75% of the people sent to El Salvador aren't in gangs or criminals of any sort. So once we get this one out, Donald Trump and his people are going to be real busy trying to figure out what's going on with the rest of them, and the courts are not going to stand with them by keeping innocent people in prison. Secondly, the thing that's going to cause some problems for Donald Trump when this Mr. Abrega Garcia comes home, I'm guessing the media is going to want to talk to him. How were you treated by the American ICE folks and by the El Salvadorans? How were you treated? Now, we saw how they were rounded up and put on a plane. They weren't being treated very decently at that point. So now Donald Trump is going to have this man talking about how he was treated by the Trump administration in his deportation, illegal deportation. The real question about this is Donald Trump took this to court. They said, bring the guy back. Took it to an appellate court. They said, bring the guy back. And then he decided to appeal to the Supreme Court, thinking he's got an in with the Supreme Court because he appointed 3 of the Supreme Court justices, thinking that they owe him a favor, so they will side with him. But the problem with this is this is categorically against the Constitution. This foregoes due process, and that's one of the things promised in the Constitution. And I was watching Lawrence O'Donnell, and he seemed to have an epiphany. I realized this some time ago, and I'm not smarter than Lawrence O'Donnell, but I could see the writing on the wall. When Ketanji Brown Jackson and a couple of the other Supreme Court justices wrote about this, they really defined something that is pretty frightening. Now, Donald Trump's legal team argued the fact that, well, yeah, we made a mistake, but once he's out of the country, there's nothing we can do about it. No big deal. And the fact of the matter is this isn't limited to immigrants. This isn't limited to brown people. This is anybody, whether you're a citizen born and raised in the United States or otherwise. If Donald Trump and his administration do not like you, they can load you on a plane and get you someplace else in the world. And if they can do it before a court does anything to stop you, in their minds, that's good and it's irreversible. Well, the Supreme Court saw it otherwise. And of course, now we're seeing that they're saying, bring them back. The question is, will they? Now, presumably, you would think if the Supreme Court said the final judgment in this says bring them back, you're going to bring them back. But this is Donald fucking Trump. We don't know what he'll do. And more importantly, if he decides not to follow the order of the Supreme Court, then what? What's going to happen? Well, it's not going to play well with the Supreme Court. They don't really like the idea of you stealing their power. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. There was no way they could side with Donald Trump in this particular case, but because it's categorically against the Constitution. And if they did that, there'd be no point in having a Supreme Court anymore. So we'll watch this and see what happens. I have a feeling that Donald Trump is going to be whining and crying about this on Truth Social. He's going to have some harsh things to say about the Supreme Court, which is interesting because he's always felt like they were on his side. And they haven't always been. They've done some things against Donald Trump, and likely in the coming future, they'll do more. Donald Trump has been in a lot of trouble these days. Everything he's doing is failing. And that's not surprising to somebody like me because I've told you all along Donald Trump's a fuck up. He's categorically a fuck up. Everything he does, he messes up. And that may be the one thing that works to our favor for however long Donald Trump is president. He gets so tied up in the tariffs and the bad press and the deportations. He's not really going to have the time or wherewithal to do any of the other things that he claims he wants to do, the egregious, the dystopian type things. That's not to say that it's not going to be hard on people and hard on this country, but he won't be as effective as somebody with a little more intelligence than Donald Trump has. Donald Trump's too busy yapping away, trying to make himself look strong and powerful. And every time he does that, motherfucker fails. Now, as we were talking about, Donald Trump put out the tariffs. The stock market took a shit. Now, the stock market is scary enough as it is. But from my understanding, the big thing that caused all the oligarchs and billionaires around Donald Trump to shit their pants and start pushing Trump to put a pause on this was the bond market. The bond market was kind of freaking out. And here's what you have to understand. Countries like Japan and China and some other countries do own bonds in this country. And when they see the values going up because everybody's switching to bonds, what do? They start selling them. And we're talking about billions of dollars with Japan or China and other countries. What happens when all these countries completely divest of America? Well, we're in fucking trouble. And this is what got everybody so nervous. And this is why Donald Trump ultimately blinked. He ultimately backed down. So he puts the pause on, and then all of a sudden we have this historic surge in the stock market. 3,000 points. Like I said earlier, everybody was crowing about that. Oh my God, Donald Trump's a genius. This is exactly what we plan to do. Well, a 3,000 point jump is certainly historic, but not nearly as big a deal when you consider the fact that since Donald Trump's been president, the stock market has dropped some 7,000 points. I think we're at about 39, 38,000 right now, but keep in mind at its highest in history was in February. This is fucking March. In February, it was at 45,000. So to be down around 38, 39, that's a little frightening. And you have to remember this, Donald Trump, when he left office in 2021, the stock market was around 30,000 points. So understand this. Joe Biden, between 2021 and the time he left in 2025, the stock market rose by 15,000 points. That's half again as much as what Donald Trump had. And then they have the audacity to say, well, we had to do this because what Joe Biden did was going to crash the economy and cause a cataclysmic economic disaster. You had to do this to save us from something that you thought might happen. And when you tried to save us, exactly what you were worried about fucking happened. An economic crash, a cataclysmic economic event. That's what happened. So what I mean about Donald Trump and the Trumplefucks, they always screw up. So anyway, it went up 3,000 points on Wednesday, and everybody's all excited. You know, press secretary, Scott Bessent, they all said, yeah, this is exactly what we expected. This is how we thought it would work. And at that point, they're basically talking about Donald Trump using these tariffs as negotiation tactics. Well, that's well and good, but Donald Trump also told us that these tariffs would bring manufacturing back to the country, that would bring billions of dollars back to the country. Now, none of that's true. But that's what he said. So if that were true, then why would you pause the tariffs? Either they're negotiation ploys or they're actually something to facilitate a response that would be beneficial to the country. See, he can't keep it straight. He says one thing, he says another, and neither one of them are fucking true. So anyway, the U.S. stocks dove Thursday and surrendered a chunk of their historic gains from the day before as President Donald Trump's trade war continues to threaten the economy. Yeah, everybody thought it was over. Donald Trump backed off. Everything's cool. It's not cool. It's not cool. And the stock market showed us that. The S&P 500 tumbled 3.5%, slicing into Wednesday's surge of 9.5%. But keep in mind, we're still way down from when we were at our highest in February. Now, following Trump's decision to pause many of the tariffs worldwide, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 1,014 points, or 2.5%, and the NASDAQ Composite tumbled 4.3%. Trump blinks. UBS strategist Banu Bawiha wrote in a report that the president's decision on tariffs, but the damage isn't all undone. Trump is focused on more on China raising tariffs on its products to well above 100%, even if that were to get negotiated down to something like 50%, or even if it were only 10% tariffs remained on other countries. But Weha said the hit to the U.S. economy could still be large enough to hurt expected growth for upcoming U.S. corporate profits. The losses of U.S. stocks accelerated Thursday after the White House clarified the United States will tax Chinese imports at 145%, not the 125% that Trump had written about in his posting on Truth Social. Once other previously announced tariffs were included, the drop for the S&P 500 exceeded 6% at that point. You see what's happening here with China. China had the audacity to push back and retaliate. And so while he had to back down off the other tariffs, he still needed to look tough. Donald Trump's image is very important to him, so he's got to look tough. So he ramps it up on China. Here's what you have to understand. All of those other tariffs around the world will be devastating to the economy here. But make no mistake, the tariffs to China are going to be completely fucked. And the farmers are going to be completely fucked here as well, not to mention, electronics and all kinds of things that China provides. The farmers got burnt the first term. They got bailed out by Donald Trump. And God damn it, I hope they aren't expecting to get bailed out this time. As I've said before, Donald Trump is transactional. And as a transactional dude, he's going to want something in return if he's going to do somebody a favor. And there's nothing the farmers can do for him anymore. Doesn't need the money. He doesn't need their votes. So there's no real point in peeling off some money and saving them again. And that's sad for the farmers. Many of those farmers voted for Donald Trump. And I know a lot of people will say, fuck around and find out, you deserve it. And that's true. I agree with you 100%. Unfortunately, if the farmers are fucked, then we're fucked because we got to buy the food. It's either going to be very expensive or not available. This is what Donald Trump does. He affects a few people. He doesn't care, but then it affects everybody. I wonder now what they're going to do. They thought they got a reprieve on Wednesday when it started to come back after Donald Trump paused it. But then we had what happened Thursday with it dropping 1,000% or 1,000 points. What are they going to do now? They've got to do something to stop the bleeding. They can't lose 1,000 points a day without completely destroying the economy. They've damaged the economy pretty substantially at this point, but they could destroy it completely if it continues this way. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do to stop the bleeding, if they do at all. Because as I said with Donald Trump, I don't know that he cares about much anymore. He thinks he can do whatever he wants, and that's what he's going to do. The only saving grace may be the fact that we have billionaires around him that are pissing their pants right now and are realizing that they don't have a lot of control over Donald. Donald just has to put something on Truth Social, and they lose trillions of dollars. So it's going to be kind of on them to decide what they need to do with Donald Trump. All right. House Republicans adopted a budget resolution on Thursday after the conservatives received symbolic assurances from party leaders that they would support deeper spending cuts. About a dozen far right House members had balked at the state or the Senate approved resolution on Wednesday, forcing House Speaker Mike Johnson to put off a planned vote. But then Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune appeared side by side Thursday morning to announce they reached an informal agreement to appease the holdouts. Our first big, beautiful reconciliation package here involves a number of commitments, and one of those that we are committed to finding at least 1.5 trillion in savings for the American people, while also preserving our essential programs. The House previously adopted a budget calling for 1.5 trillion in spending cuts, but for the Senate to ignore it and send over a budget with only 4 billion in cuts. Now, see, that's the thing. This isn't the end of the road for this thing. This budget hasn't completely passed. More things they have to do in the Senate or in the House, and then the Senate has to agree to it. This could go a long while before it gets approved or disapproved or renegotiated. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with it. But make no mistake, when they're talking about cutting 1.5 trillion in spending cuts, it's going to affect Medicaid, certainly, maybe Medicare. And the people who sign on the dotted line for that, their careers are over. I think they know this. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Um, some of these Republicans will be essentially throwing gas on a burning building. And when I say a burning building, I'm talking about the Republican Party and essentially Congress as a whole. We'll see how this all shakes out, but nothing is going well for Donald Trump at this point. They're also in the process of trying to take away Donald Trump's power to impose tariffs. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how many Republicans are starting to get brave. They've got to be getting some heat from their home districts. So it's just a matter of time as to how long they can handle this before they have to bend to the will of the voters, because that's all that matters to them in the long run. That the only thing that matters is they get reelected. And they don't want to go against Donald Trump, but if that's the only option, trust me, they will do that. All right, Senator Chris Murphy. Now, this is an interesting one. Um, Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, flagged a social media post by President Donald Trump as possible evidence of insider trading. And when you look at this whole thing, it looks like a classic insider trading in front of everybody. He wasn't even trying to hide it. It was pretty obvious. The president urged investors to buy as the stock market dipped Wednesday morning, saying this is a great time to buy on Truth Social at 9:37. But less than 4 hours later, Trump announced a 90-day pause on nearly all the tariffs, sending the stock soaring. Murphy said, so I have a question about the tariff announcements today. Who benefited? Who made money? This should matter to you because this could be an enormous scam. What we know is about 9:30 Wednesday, Trump posts on social media that people should buy. It's a good time to buy. And the 3 hours later, guess what? He announces that there's going to be a 90-day suspension of many of the tariffs. The S&P 500 showed the stock market gained back about 4 trillion or 70% of the value it had lost over the previous 4 trading days after Trump announced the suspension. Predictably, the market, which had been crashing, shoots up, and anyone who made investments early today likely made a lot of money. And so the question is, who close to Trump knew that he was going to suspend the tariffs? Which of his Mar-a-Lago friends or billionaire advisors were able to capitalize on that insider information? And let's be honest, that's a quick way to make a shitload of money. You're seeing the stock market You've seen the stock market drop, and then you get some word that he's going to put a pause. You know that's going to cause a rise in the stock market. So that is a good time to buy. 3 hours later, the value of the stocks you just bought at a low price are hugely inflated now. Somebody would say, well, maybe nobody knew. Oh, somebody fucking knew. Nobody's going to miss an opportunity to make money, especially in this situation, especially when Donald Trump absolutely manufactured it. He put in the tariffs to drop the stock. Then he said he's going to put a pause on the tariffs to raise the stock. I got to tell you, Martha Stewart got busted for a lot less than that. And there's going to be an investigation. The question is how is the investigation going to go? I'm sure the House is going to look into it. But what happens if we find out it was truly insider trading? Is anything going to happen to Donald Trump or his family or the administration? Because they're all being investigated. Maybe the DOJ would pick it up and do something. Now, of course, they won't. Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's sycophant, is in charge there, and Donald Trump is in charge of Pam Bondi. So the only thing we can hope to get out of this is exposing the truth and exposing Donald Trump for the criminality and corruption he is. If you're looking at somebody going to jail or somebody going to court, probably not going to happen. Not as long as we have the situation we have with the DOJ right now. But that said, we need to keep taking these moments and exposing Donald Trump for who he is, somehow change the narrative, change the perception of Donald Trump. And we can do that by bringing the evidence to the forefront and let everybody know what's going on. All right. Got some emails. Let's talk about emails. And as I said, some of these came before all this other shit happened. So if it seems out of context, you understand why. But I still want to hear from people. Hey, Boomer, it's been a while. Just a reminder to our people, our free speech is in the shitter. Facebook is the vehicle for most podcasters, no matter what platform. Therefore, censorship is getting worse. Everyone is going to alternatives to keep our voices heard. But Zuckerberg is getting more aggressive about lying selectively, taking down and posting disclaimers about post and repost, but not taking down the same post from others. They recently flagged my repost on Trump's saying transgender instead of transgenic. Facebook claims Trump did not mistakenly confuse the two. Yes, he did. I checked the originator's post. It wasn't flagged. I'm a nobody on Facebook and has been after me. Facebook has been after me ever since I posted that Elon Musk was a failure and that he is still trying to prove to Daddy that he isn't. My phone became flooded with reactionary posts, and someone called John Sig posted a message to me, said he stole my profile and he would dub me as a Nazi all over Facebook. He did repost an old profile picture of me and maybe spreading lies about me online. Of course, I reported it, but it took Facebook quite a while to finally delete the post. But he also threatened me differently in two other posts, which they did not take down. I'm not crying. And I'm just saying we have to figure out a way to fight back. I can't find any way to dispute this Facebook, as it does not give me an option. So I did screenshots and reposted it exactly as it happened, and the way Facebook responded. I don't hesitate to post what Zuckerberg is doing and warning people in other posts about it as well. Now they're banning music. See the link below. Martin Kerr is a Canadian and was doing concerts in America. Now it looks like they're banning him. I know you guys talk about this from time to time. I want you to, without compromise, keep letting the public know. I thank you all and every one of you that is a contributor to the show and how much I and we appreciate your voice. It's the first and the sanest thing I do while getting dressed is to listen to your show most every morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Contrary, Mary. P.S. Please let up on Will. I get it. He's outraged and passionate about it, like us all. I really enjoyed the show with him and Old Soul, and of course the Boomer the other day. Keep it coming. Let up on Will. You have to understand who I am. If I have friends, this has always been the case with my family and my friends where I grew up. We give each other shit. And I hope the people around me, when I give them shit, understand that they have a free shot at me. You can't give shit unless you're willing to take shit. And I can tell you within my family, within my granddaughter's times, I take a lot of shit. And I have respect for people who can give some shit, especially if it's solid. So when I give Will shit or I give Eric shit or something like that, it has nothing to do with a dislike or any kind of disruption in our friendship. That's just what I do. I think they understand it. If they don't, if they're listening now, figure it out. Uh, but that's what I like about Will. He is passionate. He is fired up. He is kind of a contrast to what I bring to this. I'm not as emotional about stuff, and sometimes it's good to get the other side of the coin. And Will does a great job doing it. Absolutely. All right. Excuse me. Next one says, "Hi, Boomer. Just heard a report that Musk and his team plan to move the legacy system for social services to a new platform. They also intend to do so in 6 months, possibly using AI. As someone who's been involved in the exact same type of project, all I have to say is good luck, and you're out of your fucking minds. Systems that have been hosting data for 60 years are complex and I dare say fragile in the hands of some hotshot Java developer. It's not the language nor the physical system, it's the architecture, complexity, and volumes of data. Trust me, the green light, this Americans will be eating grass as in North Korea. If the Trump administration proceeds with this, there will be pain and suffering like the world has never seen, as Fat Donnie would say. Truly, the scenario will be catastrophic. Thank you, Paul." Well, Paul, yeah, I agree with you. If something like that were to occur. Now, we are seeing some signs of backing down off of Social Security when we had these protests on April 5th. A lot of older people out there, a lot of younger people, a lot of people talking about Social Security. So we've said before, that's kind of the red line. They're going to stop things at that point because they're going to get pushed back like never before. There's another protest on April 19th, and I dare say that might be twice as big as what we saw on April 5th. People are angry. Now, what I did hear is that Elon Musk and Doge is backing off at least one thing with the Social Security. They were going to completely take down the phone service, which makes it very tough for a lot of people to interact with Social Security. Um, and you had to do it online. But then, of course, the Social Security website was crashing a couple times a week. So they were making it tougher on people who needed to contact Social Security. Um, so they are backing down a little bit. I don't know how much damage they've already done, but I will tell you this. Today is April 11th. I'm supposed to get my Social Security check today. If I don't get the Social Security check today, I'm going out on the street and find every Trump fucking go Jack Reacher on those motherfuckers. Because it, and it's not so much for me. It would be harmful if it happens to me. I'll survive. But there are a lot of people who survive solely on Social Security, and it will be absolutely devastating, catastrophic for them. And if something like this happens, I promise you, you're going to see a revolution. And usually in this situation, I would say not the traditional revolution where there's violence. I can't say that in this situation. You do this to people, push them in the corner, and take everything away from them, people will become upset and people react badly when they have nothing to lose. So hopefully things will continue to run smoothly. Of course, we'll keep an eye on it for you. And the moment I see anything fucking strange as far as people getting their checks or not, we're going to be ranting from the mountaintops. Now, the gentleman before was talking about Facebook and how he's having trouble with them. Keep in mind, I've been banned from Facebook. Rational Boomer has been banned from Facebook. And I don't even know why, because I put the same stuff on Facebook as I put on TikTok and Substack and YouTube and Blue Sky, all the same stuff. It's literally the same videos. So somebody didn't like what I was doing, and that's fine. I'm not all that hyped up on Facebook at this point. But to that gentleman that was talking about, not gentleman, it was Contrary Mary, who was bringing up this harassment uh, by somebody on Facebook and trying to get her out of there. Uh, if you have their handle on Facebook, send it to me. Send it to me. Um, there's a guy like Tiziant on TikTok who runs down, identifies, and exposes people just like this. Now, I don't claim to do what Tiziant does. That's really not my thing. But I got to tell you, if we had his Facebook handle, and with the number of followers I have here and on TikTok, if a bunch of people found out and made some complaints, it might be a different story. I'm just saying. I don't know what can be actually done with it, but I'd be willing to give it a shot because pieces of shit like this need to pay a fucking price. All right. Dear Mike, I just can't believe this whole Signalgate text chat that has occurred when Trump decided to bomb Yemen. I was shocked when I saw photos of the text chat that the Pete DUI was involved in, but lied about it. I just can't believe this bullshit and how Tulsi was lying when she was being questioned about this whole situation. I've been following this whole thing ever since the bombings in Yemen occurred and how Trump has said that he doesn't know anything about the bombings or the illegal text chat. I don't know how Pete was nominated since he has an alcohol and sexual abuse problem against women. There are protests in my city, Portland, Oregon, and a Tesla dealership was damaged nearby, a very busy freeway and luxurious condo area called South Waterfront. I've been following the stock downfall of the horrible electric car company all over the right channels that I wanted to be informed about. I heard that Elon was crying on Fox News, how Governor Tim Walz made him cry on live television. Ha ha ha, whiny little bitch. I'm really proud that they're pissed off Republican voters going to town halls and confronting their officials, but the officials are acting like pussies who won't even show up in their town halls. I have to give so much kudos to Senator Bernie Sanders, AOC, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Representative Ilhan Omar, and Senator Elizabeth Warren as they are speaking out at town halls and wanting to hear from the people who voted for the former Vice President Kamala Harris and or the Orange Voldemort. I believe that the mind of Trump is diminishing extremely fast, including his my cognitivity. I heard that he's not rolling out a third term, but that's a complete violation of the U.S. Constitution. Plus, he has pissed off a lot of our world leaders and the people in Canada, plus Mexico. Trevor. Well, thank you, Trevor. Yeah, you talk about Donald Trump's cognitivity. Why can't how Donald Trump is cognitive or not? I don't know why I have trouble with that word, but there are those words in this language that I do have my difficulties with. But I just wanted to tell you a story I read about today. It's kind of a small story, but it's really um, illustrates just how Donald Trump is losing it. Donald Trump, it's reported, was making a call to uh, Henry Mattis, I believe. Um, oh, no, 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 no. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up these people. He was making a call to South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster's. Okay. I don't know what it was about. Probably something important like a golf course or some shit. So he goes to his little presidential flip phone, hits McMaster's, makes the call. And as he's talking to this person, he calls him Henry. And the person who answers is confused because his name isn't Henry. He says, Mr. President, this is H.R. McMaster's. And H.R. McMaster's, if you remember, was Donald Trump's national security advisor back in his first term. Of course, Donald Trump fired him like everybody else, or those that quit too. And since McMaster's has left, he said a lot of bad shit about Donald Trump. So Donald Trump finds out he's not talking to Henry McMaster's, he's talking to H.R. McMaster's. And he says, why the fuck would I want to talk to H.R. McMaster's? Because you called him, motherfucker. You called him. This guy is certainly losing it. And because he's reactionary and because it's all emotions with Donald Trump, um, he makes a lot of mistakes. As I've said, he fucks up a lot. So H.R. McMasters was confused that Donald Trump called him. Donald Trump was even more confused that he got the wrong guy. And maybe they should have somebody with more cognitive skills dialing Donnie's fucking phone. Next one says, "Hi, Mike. Isn't just lovely to see Diaper Donnie delighting us with a yearn for a third term? The pig's not even 12 weeks in, and this is his priority occupying his feeble brain. Yeah, let's worry about the important shit himself. Just cark on it on a Big Mac, motherfucker. So fucking sick of him, them. Cheers, Liam." Yeah. Well, you have to understand this is the only thing Donald Trump knows how to do. He knows how to campaign. He knows how to do campaign rallies. He's not so good with governing, as we're finding out. He fucks up a lot, doesn't get a lot done. That's what happened in the first term. God knows why people didn't fucking remember that, but they didn't. Ah, third term. I'm not even worried about that. Donald Trump won't survive to a third term, either electorally or physically. Mortally, he can't last till 2028. I'm convinced of that. All right, the next one says, "Hey, Boomer, Javier, been a while. I've been down from surgery, but need to catch up. Have you mentioned any opinions on Dirty Diaper Donnie's wanting a third presidential term? I personally wouldn't put it by him. Your thoughts?" Well, as I was saying, yeah, I'm sure he's interested in it, but that's all he knows how to do is campaign. And he's 3.5 years out from the next election, and his expiration date is getting close, I think. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. He will say shit just to stir people's emotions. Um, don't take the bait. Don't listen to the third term. That's not that's not worrisome to us at this point. That's what I try to tell people. So first of all, anything that happened yesterday or back further, forget about it. There's nothing we can do about it. The election, nothing we can do about it. Don't worry about that. And don't worry so much about the future because that's what Donald Trump would like you to do. Take your eye off the prize, as it were, and focus on a fear down the road. Let's not worry about those fucking fears. Let's worry about what's in front of us and how Donald Trump is fucking up and hold him accountable for these fuck ups. So, yeah, he can talk about a third term. I'm not worried about it. All right, next one says, "Hey, Mike, really like your videos on TikTok. I'm also from Minnesota and was wondering if you have any opinions or insight on the Hands Off 2025 rallies going on around the nation this Saturday, April 5th. Thanks again for all you do, Scott." Um, and of course, that's already happened. We're sitting here on April 10th or 11th. I thought it was incredible. It was far bigger than I thought it would be. And I was very pleased to see that. It's good to see that people are standing up, speaking out, and pushing back. This is something that we haven't had much of over the last several decades. We've all been pretty apathetic. Our Democratic Party has been pretty weak too and not pushing back or not seemingly willing to fight. So I was very happy to see it. And there's going to be another one on April 19th that I suspect will be even bigger, maybe even double. I don't know exactly, but people aren't any less pissed off right now after seeing the tariff situation. This all happened before the tariffs. Now that the tariffs happened and people are losing their 401ks, yeah, I think they're going to be a little more pissed off on the 19th. And God knows what's going to happen in the next week or so because he will fuck up more shit. All right. Hey, Mike, thanks for so many great shows. There are too many awesome guests to have to name right now. I have a pressing concern about Donald Trump's attempt to federalize elections and put Elon Musk in charge of auditing the state voter rolls. That together with the talk of Republicans having enough states to call for a constitutional convention whereby they would write a new constitution according to what fits them. I'm traveling right now, so I'm writing quickly and leaving out details. Cory Booker was heroic last night, and we had a great victory in Wisconsin. Both seem to provide tangible hope that maybe things are turning around in our favor. I'm still concerned about this election stuff. I still think that Dump and Musk are doing everything they can to ensure a win in the next election. Dump is floating the idea of a third term. Historically, he has made a lot of bad shit happen to this country that no one thought he would get away with. Yet he did. I can't possibly see how he will have fair elections. He will attempt to rewrite the Constitution. Either way, he will attempt to not leave office. I'm hoping that finally the tide is turning against him for real and we just don't hope away through another Kamala Harris-like ride only to be tripped up in the end by Dump, Musk, Republican state legislators, election shenanigans. Just want your thoughts. I have no question per se. Thank you, John. Well, John, I'll put it to you this way. Donald Trump creates messes. There's no question about that. And he created most of the messes when he wasn't president. Because when he is president, he's supposed to be getting other things done. But notice one thing. He doesn't get much done. He doesn't get much done at all. Fuck, they're having a hell of a time trying to pass a bill that they've got to pass by September or the country shuts down. The idea of getting a constitutional Congress and changing the Constitution, wow. That's like my 5-year-old granddaughter sitting down and taking the Minnesota bar. She wouldn't have a chance doing it. And Donald Trump has no clue how to even get something like that started. And if he does, we know he's a failure. He's a fucking failure. We can worry about a lot of things. And this is what I'm saying. It's all a distraction. Get you worried about things that are down the road and just overlook what's going on today. We need to stay focused on today, what's happening in front of us, and shut that shit down. If we do that, then we don't have to worry about the other. Mike, this news radio special report on Stephen Miller is riveting and sheds a whole new light on the darkest focus of MAGA. It's a must for figuring out deliberate chaos. It's from brilliant independent news service Tortoise Media, whose signature strapline is "Slow down, wise up," like your podcast. Chris from London. I've not seen that, but I will seek it out and take a look. And you know that's exactly right. That's great advice. Slow down and wise up. Where Donald Trump's great failure is that he gets hyped up, he gets emotional, and he reacts. And that's why he fucks up frequently. Now, a lot of people do that. They panic when some shit happens, and that doesn't work. I know from experience when I was younger, I used to do that same thing. And then when I realized that every time I panic and react, it gets worse than when I started. So at that point, I forced myself to slow down, stay calm, take a look, and react. I mean, people react about things like it's going to be the death of them. And I understand that. When you're young, you worry about what's next, what's going to happen. But the one thing I've learned, and I've said this more times than I probably should have, I'm going to be 65 years old in about 5 days. And in those 65 years, I've had a lot of shit I went through, just like everybody else. Trials, tribulations, tragedies, catastrophes, things that I didn't think I would make it through. Yet here I sit. Here you sit. We've all been through some shit. So let's not worry about us killing us. Let's just worry about dealing with shit. All right. Next one says, "Hi, Mike. A major flaw in Trump's tariff strategy. Trump perceives the world through the eyes of a 20th century politician." Now, it's more like a 3-year-old toddler. Not even, you can't even give him credit for thinking like an 80s era politician. He believes America has the only big stick and expects world leaders to come to him in tears in their eyes saying, "Mr. President, sir, please forgive me." You're absolutely right about that. He even said that. He said they were coming to me, kissing my ass, telling me they'll do anything. And that's what he's striving for. Now, whether that's actually happening, I highly doubt it, because we haven't heard one bit of information about any country negotiating with him. He says what he says, but he's a pathological motherfucking liar. So who believes that? What he does not appreciate is that in the last century, there was no EU organization, no BRICS, and or developmentally lagging countries like China seeking economic strength and worldwide influence. World leaders will work around the mean girl Trump. USA, you want to be an isolationist country like North Korea? Uh, Fill your boots. Thanks, Paul. Well, thank you, Paul, and you make some good points. Donald Trump does think he's the biggest, baddest gorilla in the jungle. He and his country, the biggest, baddest country in the world. And while that may or may not be true, people aren't going to bend to Donald Trump just because he says something, especially when he says something generally that's stupid. Donald Trump is taking a typical bullying tactic. This is what he did when he was with his family, with his kids, with school, with his business, but he's in a different arena now. He's not the biggest and baddest, especially if the EU and other people get together. They can be just as strong as Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't get it. He's confused when these people don't back down. This is why he's so mad at China. He keeps ramping up these tariffs on China because that's all he knows how to do. I'm going to bully you, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to bully you harder, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to go harder and harder and harder. He doesn't understand accepting being wrong or backing down or compromise or negotiation. He doesn't do that. It's his way or the fucking highway. And the problem with that is Donald Trump is going to be the one hitting the highway. All right, the next one says, "Hi, Mike. Thanks for the great podcast, especially with Ed. Here's the current analysis of the tariff strategy. His goal is to stop the blowout of the foreign debt America faces with its impossible interest repayments. Trump's plan is to use both Mar-a-Lago Accord and Project 2025. With their own trade war tariffs now imposed, less countries will demand USA products, so therefore this will devalue the US dollar. He wants to revitalize USA manufacturing, but this takes 5 years minimum. Devaluation of the dollar and inflation reduces the foreign debt. He wants to restructure the debt from 10-year to 50 or 100-year bonds, but other countries won't want that as they want faster returns on their bond investments. And they almost did that the other day when Donald Trump takes the fucking stock market. As this is likely to be effective, he's threatening other countries with the removal of U.S. security umbrella. He also wants to establish a U.S. sovereign wealth fund financed by revaluing U.S. gold reserves to market prices and the cryptocurrency stabilization fund. If Japan and UK capitulate, it may work, but as of today, it's unlikely to work. Dr. Judy, Australia. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate the information because you clearly know more about this than I do, and that's one of the reasons why I love doing the emails and the guests and the lives and such. There's so many people that know way more than I do. I learn a lot every time I do a show. Um, Again, you have to consider the fact that Donald Trump is a fuck up, and as much as people around him may have great strategies, he's not very good with execution. His own ego, his own malignant narcissism will always fail him in the end. People will only take so much from him, and then they'll push back. And then Donald Trump doesn't know what to do when somebody pushes back. Next one says, "Hi, Mike. So when are retired military going to step up and stop all this nonsense before it's really too late? Advise, Roy." Well, I think they have to a certain extent. If you looked at those protests, there were a lot of military folks there. There's a lot of protests you don't hear about because the mainstream media just doesn't say anything about it, and that's a failure for the mainstream media. That's why I don't watch it much anymore. Um, but the veterans are pushing back, and I think it's going to continue to grow as time goes on here. We saw 5 million people come out. There were people worried about Veterans Affairs. There were people worried about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. There were people worried about the stock market. Now that we had this crash and people are feeling the pinch, it's going to get crazier. This is where it ends up for Donald Trump. We can't count on the DOJ. Congress has done little to help us. So it's really on us. And I'm just pleased to see how many people are willing to go to the street and protest. I think that I think it will ultimately work. Roy, if you remember back in the 70s when we had the Vietnam War, we had all those hippies protesting. It got messy there for a while. It got a little ugly at times with some of the riots and such. But you know what? Those people who protested, they were part and parcel of the reason why the Vietnam War ended. It was just too much pressure. All right, the next one says, "Hi, Mike, Gina from Massachusetts. I want to say thank you for bringing me into the lives of so many wonderful Americans through your live podcast. I'm beginning to have hope we can win this. But the main reason I'm writing is I'm hoping you will see your platform to get people to cancel the protest on April 19th. I'm afraid from many things. I've read that the Red Hats will infiltrate and cause chaos, allowing the Orange Stain to call martial law. Right now, he has no legal cause, but it is so what he wants. I was so happy with the outcome of the April 5th, but on some levels, I think they lulled us into a false sense of security. I think our protest should be we do nothing, no travel, no gas, no shopping, no nothing. COVID killed big corporations. No flying, no driving, buying only necessities and only buying local when we do buy. I think this has to be how we protest in a huge way in their pockets. If we could just come together on this one thing for, say, a month, I know most want things to be as they were before, but right now that isn't going to happen if it ever will. It won't be the same. It will be better, but it won't be the same. We have the power to shut these fuckers to the ground and show the world he does not represent most of us. I will not fly, drive as little possible, buy as little as possible, and do as many free things as possible. We can win this as it is a class war, but if we are not spending, they will listen, I hope. Early happy birthday. I reached that landmark a few years back, power in numbers, and you bring some of those numbers together. Keep talking. Stay well, Gina. Gina brings up something I want to talk about. A lot of people are worried about the prospect of martial law. And I get the fear, but the question is, where is that coming from? Does anybody know? To me, the idea that Donald Trump was going to call martial law seems like something that is leaked by the Trump administration as a fear tactic. Calling martial law is not as easy as snapping your fingers and having it happen. Now, keep in mind, even if he did call martial law, how are you going to control 5 million people or 10 million people? There's just too many people. I think people want to put it in your heads that there's going to be martial law called, and he might even try to do that because he's a dumb motherfucker. But here's the thing: will the military respond in kind? I have to think that's not the case. I have to believe that's not the case. That's not going to happen in this country. If these people in the military made pled an oath to the Constitution, there's no way they would do that. Don't let people scare you. We're at a point in time, Gina. Yes, we should choke them financially as much as we can. If we can coordinate something like that and do that, by all means, we need to choke them of all their money. But to allow Republicans to cause fear in us and make us sit back, that's a mistake. This is when we need to be strong. We need to be very strong, and we need to push back. Might there be some disasters and hurdles? Yeah, but that's what a war is about. And make no mistake, we're in the middle of a war, if not a revolution. I'd like to see more and more people come to the streets. He can try to do whatever he wants. He's going to do it anyway. But I think there are some guardrails that he doesn't even realize. He thinks that he's going to get everybody to back him on anything he says. And clearly that's not the case. The Supreme Court yesterday pointed out that no, you can't just throw somebody in prison in El Salvador. So there are people going to push back, and people who normally side with him are going to be in a position where they just don't have a stomach for the shit he does. Don't let these motherfuckers scare you. So last time we need to be scared or complacent. We need to fight on all angles. We need to choke them out financially if we can do that, but we need to push back if he's going to push us. All right. Hi, Boomer. It's been a while since I emailed you. I start most every day listening to your Spotify. It's comforting to have you give voice of my frustrations and anger. It's been the longest fucking 10 years. I can't wait to see that uh, be obituary on the front page. What I really want is for all these traitors to be prosecuted. The most infuriatingly mind fucking thing is that he's gotten away with so much and it never fucking ends. It's too much. I really hate these motherfuckers. If someone votes for a destructive liar, they must be so angry and so hateful themselves, and they want everyone to feel that way. Congratulations, motherfucker. I hope you suffer. Uh, I um, I just wanted to vent, Boomer. Sincerely, Blue Dot in Red, Indiana. Now I get what you're saying, and I gotta believe Donald Trump's not going to be president forever, and it may not be 4 years. And when he's not president, you can bet there's going to be some people going to jail. We won't be fucking around with him running again. He'll be in trouble in his own right. So I think that um, you'll get your wish. There will be people that won't go to jail. If you're old enough to remember Watergate, a lot of motherfuckers went to jail after that. Richard Nixon didn't, of course, because he got pardoned. But there's going to be a lot of people that spend some time in jail. In fact, some of these lawyers that are doling out this bullshit regarding this prisoner down in El Salvador, they're flat out lying in court. And when they don't go down and get them, there is going to be a contempt of court charge. And while they might not put Donald Trump in prison, they can put the lawyers in prison. We'll see how long that goes. All right. Hey, Mike, Midwest J again. Have you heard that Grassley and McConnell are working on a bill to stop presidential power of the terrorists, wanting to make it known to Congress 48 hours beforehand? And max can only be 6 weeks or 3 months. Sounds like we're going in the right way. Keep up the good fight, Midwest J. Yeah, I did hear about that. And that's an interesting turn of events when you get people like Grassley and Mitch McConnell doing it. These are the leaders in the Senate. That's going to cause other people to follow ultimately. And that's really what it takes here. We need one or two or three or four people to step up and push back on Donald Trump. Nobody wants to be the first one. So it has to be some of these older, stronger ones to do it, and then others will follow. So I think we have made a turn here, and hopefully that's going to be the turning point that we need. Boomer, I'm writing to advise you of what I am hearing more and more about why Trump is doing this tariff shtick, and it makes total sense to me. Trump is being bullied or manipulated or both by Putin to weaken their relationships between NATO countries. I would not be surprised by that. Putin also believes that if he can cause a rift between the U.S. and the EU, it will keep U.S. officials from having serious conversations about Russia. If Trump imposes tariffs on the EU, the result will be that the EU will have less money to help Ukraine, and at the same time, it will cause bad feelings between the U.S. and the rest of the world. Putin believes that these results will push Russia up a notch or two and even into a new order and keep the U.S. down from what we were before Trump's win. This solves many Russians' problems. Of course, Trump will make also money for himself by selling the lower tariffs on certain countries. Thanks for listening, Max. Yeah, I agree with you. If you think that Vladimir Putin doesn't have some part of what's going on here, you're fooling yourself. Donald Trump is a useful idiot, and he is the biggest useful idiot to Vladimir Putin. And the idea that we're weakening our allies, our relationships with allies, is certainly beneficial to Vladimir Putin. And you can bet that it's at the encouragement of Vladimir Putin. All right. Hi, Mike. Who's going to tell MAGA the cost of their hats, flags, and other Trump gear is going to increase by 145% because it's all made in China? Hey, MoMA, we is going to have to sell the old blue so we can get us the new MAGA collector set. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, almost everything Donald Trump makes is in China. So 145% tariff. He may take a hit on this one. He may take a hit on this one. All right. We're going to be wrapping things up here for the Rational Boomer podcast, but I have one last email. And every once in a while, I get a negative email. And sometimes it's Trumplefucks coming at me head on, or sometimes it's a Trumplefuck trying to be clever. But they're not clever. Or they want to try to hurt my feelings. And I will tell this to Trumplefucks. You can't hurt my feelings. You're too fucking stupid to hurt my feelings. So keep trying if you want to, but I'm going to laugh at you. And if you make me mad enough, then I'll come after you. So I got this email. And it says, will you stop drinking water every 30 seconds? It's fucking rude. You sound like a fucking moron when you do that. For fuck's sake, stop. Jack T, gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. No, Jack, I won't. Because it's my show and I'll do whatever the fuck I want. And Jack, I would suggest this. If you don't like it, don't fucking listen. Because guess what? We won't miss you. In fact, I did you a favor. I blocked you on my emails and I blocked you on TikTok and whatever else I'm on. What Jack has to understand is you can say whatever you want to me. I have people saying bad shit about me all the time. I don't fucking care. Jack T is inconsequential to me. But if you ever want to send Jack T an email, just supporting what he said of me or otherwise, his email is WRL655 at duck.com. WRL655 at duck.com. I might send him an email. Well, I did send him an email telling him he's a stupid piece of shit. No, I won't do anything you suggest. But maybe he'd like to hear from some other folks that have a different opinion. Maybe some people are cool with it. Maybe some people agree with it. But again, my show, I'm going to do what the fuck I want. I've said that from the beginning, and that's the only way I can do it at this point. All right. So now we're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. We got through another email show. Sorry, Jack, I coughed there, but I did turn away, so hopefully that's okay for you. Anyway, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day. I'm headed down to Savannah. Next time we talk here, I will be in Savannah. I've got some interesting guests coming up for next week, so be sure to join us here on the Rational Boomer podcast. So I hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.